I've landed. Hello, everyone. Here in Friday Transit. Welcome to Friday's Dojo, everybody. It's been a little while, and I'll get my camera set up a bit. But yeah, welcome to Friday, May 23rd, 2025. Wow. It is. We've got some build up. We've got some build up coming into a transit that takes about 29.5 years. Aries does a transit through all the astrological signs, and we're starting back again on the 25th of this month. Take my gum out. And I find that very interesting when you think about what you're doing 30 years ago. Yesenia, you weren't born, but many of us were, and you can kind of go back and think like, what was going on in my life? And I bet you guys have a lot of interesting things you can ponder, right? Exactly. So what's transitioning out of that transit right now? So that's what's heavy on my mind. And I happen to have my Aries in Saturn. So when I was born, the Saturn was in Aries. So look into your charts. I think it's really valid right now to just get to know yourself as much as you can. Welcome to Friday again. Hi, James. I'm just kind of buzzing
Hi.
with all the energy that's going around. So, if you're new to the airship, to the dojo, there's a reaction button, and you hit that, and there's a hand up that you can raise and introduce yourself or ask a question. I know it's been a little while, so there's probably a lot of things that people want to bring to the table. Hi, Nancy. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hey, James. I
Hello.
listened to your show. Wow, what a ride. What a ride.
Yeah, it's been a while. Guess I've already said this, but yeah, just been in the zone, as it were. And finished the last sweep through. I thought I was done the last sweep through, and then I was kind of not really happy with it. Then I finished the next sweep through, really happier with it. So I know there's definitely progress. And then yesterday I decided it could really use one more sweep through. So I'm actually on Act Two again. But I don't feel this is such a it doesn't have to take over so much because most of the stuff's still there. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So yeah, I tried to do a show today. I've been thinking about this magnetism a lot, mainly because I'm picturing uh, Quetzalcoatl to Cairo Pecta Rasa Click Garoof. And just this concept of what it would be like to be uh super intelligent in the sense of knowing who you are every time you're reborn, like having that field information available to you. And more importantly, what would we look like to those creatures? What how would we be interpreted? Because right now we say bees, we tend to give props to. We understand, for example, how intelligent ants are in relation to their size, and like if you from all versions of intelligence that we measure, intelligent ants are pretty fucking intelligent. They're also really fucking strong. Things like that. It's like we're here next to them, but we don't really tap into that kind of a thing, you know. And so, yeah, it makes me think all kinds of weird, cool things. But there's a hand up, so I'm gonna let that happen, and we'll see what happens. But good to see everybody. Great to be here.
Yeah, go ahead, MJ. Good to see you.
I was wondering, what is the difference between dojo and airship?
Great question. So dojo is typically more kind of in your face. The standard rules of social etiquette do not really apply in dojo, meaning that
Okay.
authenticity is typically more of what we're after. And a lot of times, actually, every time, authenticity is typically thwarted by social rules, right? Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't say such a thing and stuff like that. So, very
Okay.
easy to misinterpret as it's a place to be mean. I think it's a place to be brave and to really make mistakes. I think that's the key, is that you're allowed to totally say the wrong thing or feel that way, because that's kind of what brings you through. So dojo is more of an exercise. Airship's
Hmm.
more of just let's hang out and talk. And if someone says something odd, I'm not going to necessarily bring you on a mat. And the only reason why we stopped doing that is just because of how expensive it is to run a dojo. Expensive just purely for me, purely from just how hard it is to watch people react to that kind of situation and watch it
Mm,
sort of sometimes completely explode, which I don't think is necessarily unhealthy. It's only unhealthy
right.
for me, James True, who's just trying to like keep the lights on and like, keep a place going. So otherwise, I think that Dojo has always been effective. It allows
Mhm.
vitriol to come out that would not necessarily come out. It's very much
Mhm.
similar to we are calling the Pied Piper during Dojo, during Airship, we're not. It could come up during Airship, but it requires a lot more faith. I call it Dojo in hopes that people will understand that this is a place to exercise more of those things, to whether it be something that's
Okay.
bothering you, or more importantly, whether it be something that's bothering me, not necessarily just me, but something that's bothering me in what I'm seeing as you're telling me
Mm.
what's bothering you, that I don't wouldn't normally have the permission to go into that kind of thing. So dojo is a much more intimate setting when it comes to these kinds of things. No one's required to share. If at any point in time you feel that you're being shared too much, dojo is the perfect place for you to exercise your boundary and say, I don't feel comfortable sharing. So this is not a communist manifesto, meaning that you have to tell me your deepest secrets. I think if you do share your deepest secrets here, like the deep, deep ones, I think there might be a
Mhm.
flaw in your boundaries, honestly. So it's a delicate
Mhm.
line. A lot of people don't necessarily understand exactly, but it's also great practice because it's making you enter into this environment that's kind of different, and you're seeing all kinds of interesting things come out as a result.
Okay.
Great answer, James. I was just kind of thinking of how. Do you want to respond, MJ? Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I'm happy to be here.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I came in when it was dojo, and then it went to airship, and then it's come back to dojo. But I kind of came in a couple years after the dojo had started, so I wasn't really sure about how it even worked when I came in, and I learned rather quickly. But that was really when the corona was really on, just on, and so a lot of people brought a lot of their angst and their growth. And then when it turned into airship, it got a little bit more pretend as the corona, the threat we had, you can fly, can go places, and then that waned. Then it got a little bit more. There were other things that came up that maybe were hidden, more lurking in the below, that was interesting to see, and then I think that's why we shifted back to dojo. We just wanted more authenticity in our gathering. So that's my take on it. Somebody else might have some other takes, but thank you for asking that question. All right, we got True's hand up. Hi, True.
Sure. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to actually offer some testimony for the benefits of dojo. Um, really practical stuff. I was just thinking about the butt scooting that I did during the gender dojo. That was stuff that had been building up in me for a long, long time, and I needed to get it out. And my communication skills with my partner have gotten so much better since then. I just really needed to say all that and express the wounded child that I had in me that was interfering with my really listening to what was being said to me. There was like this filter that was in the way, and it's I'm aware of it now when it comes back up. So that's really all I wanted to say. That this is a really powerful medium of exchange to me. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, True. One thing I would tell James early on in working with his what he's created here is that I got so much free time because like you kind of you got to express the things that you carried heavily in your heart to this group of people who are just really great listeners. And yeah, it's really necessary to get that witness, isn't it? I mean, if you just keep it inside, it just gets stuck. You just get this road rage whenever chakra you're not tapping into. What part of your body do you think kind of opened up, True? I'm just curious. You're muted.
I think there was two parts: my throat and my solar plexus.
Mm,
I,
yeah,
I was
fantastic.
It's really interesting. I did a one-on-one session with James, and the one big thing that came up, I was carrying this residual image of my mother from when I was very, very young, because I saw a big shift in her. I saw her close down versus being open when she was young, and I always had this thing in my gut, like I gotta make mom happy. But I don't know how. It was like it was impossible. It's not my job anyway. And then the throat was speaking. Actually, that's coming from the father. Was like, okay, wanting to help, but then getting angry at the people who I wanted to help, which is insane, but that's what I learned. So anyway, those are the two.
Oh gosh, thank you for sharing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of good to see your process. Thank you so much. Go ahead, James.
Um, I think during Corona, or during the gauntlet that was happening there, you have a lot of people that utilize politics as a way to express deeper feelings, deeper emotional states. We see this now. I'm just saying that during COVID, it was more. It wasn't invented by COVID. It's just that during COVID, that was louder. And so when I look at politics, when I look at the Twitter sphere, when I look at everything that was happening then, it felt like no one was doing this. No one was saying, "Hey, why don't we have a space where you can actually like express how you really feel?" Not about like how stupid the X is or how brilliant so and so is if we could just get that elected, or how fucked we are, or any of that stuff. It's more about how are you personally doing. Now, I don't give a shit about the black nobility. I'm talking about how are you doing personally. And this was something that came from a wilderness program that I used to work in when, quite frankly, you just had to do stuff like this because otherwise kids wouldn't eat. Like they were just using every excuse they could to express other issues that weren't necessarily on their mind. I still think that happens in Dojo. I think that the topics that maybe I bring up on the show act as a conduit where people are allowed to sort of like it's almost like you dress your feelings up in the fashion of the day, then you can express them. So if you're at Mardi Gras and you're upset because your partner cheated on you, it's going to look like Mardi Gras, someone cheating on you. And if you aren't in the situation where you can share that, other people are just going to hear you talk about Mardi Gras. That's really all they're going to hear. They're not going to necessarily find you there. So it's if it works, it becomes a space where these kind of things can happen. And if you turn it off, it'll still try and happen anyway because all society does that. But the social structure is removed to where someone who's perceptive isn't allowed just to go up to you and say, "Hey, I think something's bothering you," or "I don't know if Joe Biden's really at the heart of what is upsetting you right now." Because when you really start to just do the math, we tend to pick enemies that are outside of reach because they don't actually touch us, but we get to pretend that's the enemy. I call this scarecrowing. We set up a scarecrow out. If you're afraid of what's outside your window at night, all you need is a scarecrow. And you're terrified of exactly one specific thing. And every time you look at it, you're like, fuck, there it is. And it makes you feel better. All the all the other things you were afraid of are gone because you're looking at the scarecrow and you actually feel better because the scarecrow doesn't move. You're watching it literally not move every day. In fact, it hasn't moved so much that every single person knows about the scarecrow, which means you can talk about it. And this is not a real enemy. This is this is not a real threat. This is something that all of us are totemizing in a very creative way. I don't want to change that. I think it's brilliant how fucking smart we are at this kind of energy work. And if we could claim how creative we are at lying, which is you've seen me do, I just followed that string and it led me to placebo, it led me to fantasy, it led me to wait a minute, this is called having a dream. Like you, you have a dream and either it comes true or it doesn't. And it's a nightmare either way. Depends on what your perspective is and how you're going. So I'd like to think this is just a new way of interacting with people where the facade doesn't have to be such mainstream, where the procedure of what we have to do is secondary to just how we're feeling, to just not even necessarily how you feel, because honestly, I don't give a shit how you feel. That sounds cruel, but that's not really what I'm here to. I'm not here to fix your feelings. I'm just here to let's demonstrate your posture. These feelings just happen to be the soup of the day, right? So it's more about what is your posture during that. That's when you can learn a lot about yourself. And frankly, I just find that fun. I just find it fascinating because I'm always pulling new tips for myself about how to stand straighter, how to endure longer, right? Just by watching how we lie to ourselves. I want to use that to my advantage. I do want you to lie to yourself. I want you to lie to yourself effectively. That's really what I want. So I think dojo's the closest thing we've come to trying to do something like that. So that's all I got.
Indeed, I agree. Hi, Lori, go right ahead.
I really like hearing more about it. Like, see, I came in like a little late too, and then I didn't really experience that Corona a dojo. So being like this new moderator here, I've learned so much, and it's this growth curve of like watching myself on the mat as I'm at this whatever that is, like watching people's hands go up. And then I was like, well, I'm really learned something with Renee right now, and from James the last time that I moderated, that I wasn't really good at asking the person the question, putting it back to them. And that was like, I had put myself on this really subtle mat, which made me a much better listener. I'm a really good listener, but to listen to ask another question is another level up. And when you ask true, where did you feel that in your body? That was just like another tuning for me, because I can feel that like in my own body. My body's keeping the score. I'm doing all of this inner work, and then being as a moderator, it's like you're listening, but then you're kind of moderating, so it's like another depth of listening. And then James was listening in another way. He's like using another sense, and everyone's kind of using all these other senses, and it's kind of like a beautiful witnessing, or being able to be witnessed in this. I don't know how to even explain it. I'm not going to be able to stay on. I just wanted to say I missed you guys. I'm working on my solar panel. It's interesting. I'm troubleshooting all kinds of like solar stuff with my van, because I'm about to take off to go to Mount Airy to go to this fiddle convention. So I'll be up in North Carolina, James, for the month of June, and I'd love to see you. I'll be like traveling around in my little van. So if I'm not here, it's like I'll probably be listening. I'll just have my camera off. And I love you guys so much, and it's been such an honor to participate, and just to, I don't know, it's just an honor. I think I just have so much gratitude. I think that's what I feel. So
Well, I feel your gratitude in my heart. It feels so big and full. It's overflowing, Lori. Thank you so much. Well, we got some hands up. This is great. All right, Amel, good to see you. Go right ahead.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're a little quiet, but we can hear you. You're a little quiet.
Ah, can you hear me now? Louder? Louder? Better? Okay. I'm sorry because my Wi-Fi isn't so good. So sorry if it's gonna cut or something like that. I'm still in Africa. It's really very challenging right now for me. Really, really challenging. I'm in the what we still call the summer house in Africa. It's by the sea. Um, my parents built this house for us. It's a big house with a great garden. And my sister lives here now in her quarters. Everybody has a quarter, you know. And we realized that my brothers have been destroying the whole place, so we sell it. It's really challenging. I have two brothers, they're younger than us, and they want to sell the place, and it's really a big challenge emotionally. So my sister and I have been building, rebuilding, and working on the garden and all these things. And I come from a family where we express feelings, but not so much. And the other day, I think because I've been listening to the dojos afterwards before I go to sleep. I've been listening to you guys, and I've missed you so much. And I think Annie, you were talking about talking loud, speaking loud. Yeah. And I've noticed, I mean, with my sister, we are very different. And with my sister, I'm not talking so loud because I'm scared that she would hear me. She doesn't really understand English, but can you hear me? So, things we don't express, let's say if I say something, I have a much stronger personality. And I'm Taurus. When I have something in my mind, I just go forward. I just go for it. And I don't, I mean, I think about it and I just go. And she's Virgo. She's more into, she's the queen of procrastination. She's the queen of procrastination. I mean, it's always, let's leave it for tomorrow. But when I express things, I've noticed she doesn't speak out loud. She hums. She hums music. And now I've noticed that, and I am guessing from the music she's humming what she's trying to tell me. It's really interesting. So I'm listening to her humming and I'm listening to the music. And what song is she humming so I can understand exactly what she's trying to express? And it's really, really challenging, but it's very interesting. I've been to the village because it's a small village. It's really adorable. And I reconnected with all the people I know. She's been living here for since the summer, since last June, and she doesn't know anyone. So I reconnected her to everybody in the village, and she has a hard time saying thank you for reconnecting me. I found a gardener. I found what do you call it? What do you call the person that works the wood and makes doors and what do you call someone help me? I don't
Carpenter.
know in the English.
Yeah,
Yes,
carpenter.
thank you. Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. And the carpenter is a very good friend of my parents, and really we have a really good connection, and he's really a great man, and he's also a wonderful gardener. I mean, he's a wonderful gardener. He knows so much about trees and all these things. So, but she has a hard time expressing things and say, thank you, I'm here for all these things. Thank you. She doesn't say it, but she hums. And the humming is really, really interesting. And sadly, I have lost my little companion, my little dog. He has passed a few days ago, and it's really hard for me. After 14 years, he passed here, and it's the carpenter that dig a hole, and we buried him in my garden. I'm happy he passed here because this house, I love this house and I love the garden. And Cookie, my dog, he loved this man. He never really knew him, and he loved him right away. And he was always with him whenever he was leaving, he would wanted to go in his car, and he hates car. My dog hates cars. And he always wanted to just jump in the car with him and go somewhere with him. And so my little dog, it's still so fresh because it's been 3 days now. And I always go on his grave, and it's hard for me. It's hard for my daughter and my son. They're far away. They're in Germany, my children. But my sister, she doesn't feel anything. She doesn't feel anything. And it's hard for me I cannot share all this sadness. I'm really grateful for the carpenter. His name is Bashir, and I know there is a story with a certain Bashir with you, James, but this one is a good Bashir. This one is a good one. Bashir in Arabic, I think it means the one that says that tells you good, gives you good, gives you a good, what do you call it? My English. I mean, I haven't been speaking English for such a long time. I'm losing my English words. Gives you a
Like
good,
good tidings or something? Good tidings, good luck, good.
no, but someone that gives you a good, comment on dit, of the word is, it will come back. It's a positive word. It's a positive name. Bon, voilà, this is my life. It's been like 2 months now.
Compliment, right?
Um,
Someone
not
who gives compliments?
compliment,
No?
Bashir. someone is
It doesn't matter. I hear you.
it doesn't matter. It's positive. It's positive. It's something good. But this one is a good one. He's a good man. He's 75 years old and he has so much energy and he it, I mean he loved my parents so much and he's doing a good job with me and there's a little jealousy and with my sister because I'm open with people and I'm not scared of going and speaking with everybody and but she doesn't never says thank you, Amel, thank you for connecting me back to the village and bringing positive things to the house and it's just always whenever I do something she says we do whenever she does something which is nothing she says I do. It's really horrible. She never cooked once since I'm here. I'm the one cooking. If I don't cook, we don't eat. Sorry for letting all this with you guys, but it's been hard for me. But positive for the house, positive for my parents, positive for the legacy they left us, and I've been doing the same thing in Toulouse, and now I'm doing the same thing here. But yeah. Thank you for listening. But the humming, really wanted to speak about the humming. It was interesting. It's still interesting every day. I'm guessing every day, whatever she wants to say and she doesn't express. Thank you for listening. Thank you. I've missed you guys.
Oh,
Great.
Mel, we have missed you. Yeah, I'll just let me just jump in here real quick,
Mhm.
James. It sounds like she's kind of a pressure cooker. Like she has so much inside that she can't. We'll talk about throat chakras. You know what I mean? Talk about a pretty big blockage. But it's interesting the songs coming through um, with potential messages if you can decipher that. But she's trying to communicate. I think it's beautiful that you're really cleansing with your Venus, beautiful Venusian energy, all of your family's um, homes, their homes. I think that's really beautiful for your family, whether you get complimented or, at least for you, that feels like it's the right thing to do. I'm sure you're doing a lot of channeling right now of your ancestors, you know, and maybe seeing where someone in your family was like your sister and they weren't able to really fully develop that, where they kind of stuck and where she's now stuck in her purpose here for you to understand and interpret. It's just I had three sisters, I had three brothers. So there's a lot of interpreting to do with my sibs. And trust me, I'm not talking to quite a few of them. So I get it. I get a lot of it. It's a really intense time for family dynamics right now. But I think it's purposeful and it shows us a lot of what was hidden before in this Pluto and Aquarius, what's been here the whole time. Thanks for sharing a lot. And I'm glad you got to get that off your chest, Mel, because that seems like that was good to process that with us. And thank you for sharing. Hi, Pi, go right ahead.
Amel, I want to say, Pi, can you hang on a second?
Oh, sorry.
I was going to get,
You're right. I forgot.
that's okay. I want to listen to Pi too, and it's going to be harder if I have to try and remember this. I'm going through some stuff with my family in a similar way, and this is kind of why I think Dojo is so helpful because so on the lowest level, I think the lowest thing we could do, honestly, the least vibratorial thing we could do is try and help Amel. Believe it or not, I think that's the lowest level. Is we have to help Amel. We have to we have to make her feel better right now, and she has to feel good. And that's not what Dojo does. I mean, Dojo can do that, and sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes in my opinion, this is the weakest you could bring. Obviously, you could bring less. You could bring less because you could just hum at someone. You could bring less because you could not contribute at all. So there's definitely ways to bring in less. But I'm trying to tell you that I want you to look at bringing help is like your lowest form of witness that you can do. What comes higher than that is just pure witness. It's just pure, I can't help you. I cannot fix this and I'm listening. It's both, right? I'm listening and I'm with you too. I'm with you too because I don't have a magic wand. Most people want to feel the power of this. They're just there to listen. I only know this because I know myself. They're there to listen because they know I will come up with a brilliant, most creative solution that no one's ever thought of, and then people will think that I'm worthy of being here. And that just fucking told you my personality for about 10 years of my life at least, if not still now. Just It's a big part of it. You watched me kick 2 people out of the dojo just a month ago. Exactly because of this. Because it's like, look, I can't even get you to even listen, more or less contribute, and what, like you're not even there. And if you're not there, you can't be here. Most of our siblings are this way. Most of the people that we interact with are this way. And one of the reasons why I like dojo is because the point is not to fix that. The point is to bear witness to it. And if witness is too much, it doesn't feel good for me to watch a male not have something constructive. I'm going to selfishly then try and constructively do things to help. And sadly, I fucking have things. I have suggestions. I have things that I think help. And one of the things that I think helps is understanding who your sibling actually is, understanding what your sibling will always need energetically, and entering into a voluntary state with that deficit. It's no different than you would embrace with a child. This child is 5. Why am I expecting them to behave as if they're 12? Whose fault is that? When I say fault, who is losing more electrons, the 5-year-old or you? And the answer is you. But if you give them the ability to be the 5-year-old, I didn't say your life's better. I didn't say everything's fixed, but I'm saying you're not losing electrons for the same reasons. And you're probably losing less. And if you have more electrons, it only means that you can endure more. So I'm not even helping. Literally showing you how you could endure even more of this kind of harshness. But if you've been to a gym, you understand why that's important, right? If you strength train, it's not going to be as heavy. You're not going to be going through it as much. I happen to be going through this with my brother. I just lost my mom passed in January, February, and I'm watching this family react to that. And it's fucking pathetic. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. It's not even surprised. And I don't lose as much electricity from it because I have divested from, not from my brother, but from what I expect from him. What I expect from him. And because I've divested from that, I actually feel closer to him. I actually feel that I can love him more because, quite frankly, I'm expecting so much less. So much less. And because I'm expecting so much less, I can create a brand new voluntary relationship with this person. And it's really just a relationship with myself. That's really all it is. It's a relationship to myself. I'm pretty sure that there's been a memorial service for my mom and I wasn't invited. Like, that's where it's at. It's like grown ass fucking men. This is where it's at. And I've already gone through the processes. There would have to be 2 sides. You're not seeing it all. You're not seeing your own butt crack. I've already do that every fucking day. I only tell you guys about that because I've learned these tricks myself. I've learned these tricks because I'm like, how the fuck do I endure this? How do I fucking go through this again? And when I woke up this morning and this thing was on my mind, I'm trying to be vague about it because honestly, it's a little bit too personal. But this thing's on my mind this morning and it's starting to drain me. And then because of iDojo, I noticed the drain and I'm only doing selfishly. I'm only taking care of myself. And this is not me going, well, James, you really need to learn to understand other people have the world, man. And none of that is the conversation. That is not the conversation. The conversation is always, this is my entire world. This is the universe is mine. It is. How can I express a different posture, a different mudra, a different presence in this weather and not feel so taken by it? Right? I don't want to change the weather. I used to want to change the weather. I'd rather find the moment in this weather now. Do you understand? I'd rather find that. And honestly, if you didn't have people like this behaving this way, we would never have these moments. We would never, ever have the opportunity to go to these places and to say, how do I have a different relationship with this? These are things I was working on when I was 13. I'm sure you guys were too. I'm just saying that by the time I was 13, I did not have the techniques. No one would sit down and talk to me about this. No one would have a discussion about this. No one would even breach the fucking subject. It wasn't until I went into a wilderness camp with kids and I'm watching how just the most shitty behavior I've ever seen and just triaging it. That's all you're seeing. Is here's what triage is when it's this fucked. When you're this fucked, all you can do is save calories. All I really do is say, let's stop the bleeding. That's really it. I'm not fixing anything. I'm not changing. All we're doing is put a cup there. And then when this cup fills up, I need you to put this blood back in your body. It's just that. It's just figuring out a way to just just keep it there. And if you do that, you become more generous. If you're more generous, you are more generous, but more importantly, you have a better time. And I think the better time you have, the easier it is to enter into a parasympathetic state, the easier it is to prepare a meal for someone for the umpteenth time because you realize you're preparing a meal for yourself. That's all. You're just cooking for yourself. You realize that you're alone, even though there's other people that are in the room that are requiring things from you. And this is no different than a parent. A parent interacting with a 5-year-old is going to be alone on there are many planes where you're not going to be able to relate. It doesn't change the matrix of your love for the child, though. What changes is your expectations of what you think the child should be fulfilling. You have total control over that. There's all your power is there with every single person you meet, whether it's your boss. Lower your fucking respect for him. Lower your expectations for him. And you will find a very, very more powerful place. You're taking power, responsibility away from them, and it just goes to you. You don't have a choice. You're just pulling back power that was already yours anyway. This is why it's hard to see. All you're really doing is pulling back the influence that you've always had on yourself. You're removing it by giving the reins to someone else. You're like, my brother doesn't have the ability to control my emotional reins like that anymore. Why? Because that was stupid. That's why. It was because when I gave him that rein, it was one of the stupidest things I've ever done. And he showed me consistently over decades that this is never going to happen. And I want to love my brother. I want to love my brother. I don't want this to be as, well, clearly he's the Dark Lord and I'm the White One. I am the White Hat and he's clear. It's none of that. It's just simply, how do I lower my expectations? How do I do that intrinsically? And there's not a lot of physical contact. There's not a lot of reaching out, but it's actually better. It's actually, I have a lot more compassion for him. I know this because when I hear reports about whether he's doing something well or if he's not doing something well, my sympathies are always in the right place. Do you understand? Like you check this and you're like, wait a minute, why am I being so sympathetic to, it's like, because I'm a fucking good person. That's why. And why am I a good person? Because I adjusted my posture to stop losing energy. That's the only definition. That's the only thing that makes you a good person. That's the only thing. You adjust your posture because it makes you more generous. And people just call you a good person from that. I don't need to be called a good person, by the way. I'm just trying to say that these are the measures. If you can't measure yourself, you're going to notice other people measuring you. So use that too. Anyway, I appreciate you, Mel. It's great to hear from you. That's all I got. Yeah.
Really great addition, James. I loved hearing that, and we'll process that more. Appreciate that. Hey, Pi, go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. Well, I kind of was thinking along those lines. family, and I'm always amazed at the intactness of the electrostatic like nature of their field just remains so intact. It's like going to ancient Greece, you know, it's just going to be exactly like you saw it. And then, but then you have your own electrostatic fields, you know, that they put on you, you know, and so that's always my trouble with that is, you know, like my brother, he's always gonna look at me through this field of like, even though I don't want that field to be there, but he's gonna look at me through this field of soldier or athlete, but not artist or musician. You know, it's like he has a certain choice, you know, part of the electrostatic nature, you know, it's just very static. And so I hate to say it, but my family's kind of like ancient, you know, relics that just never change. And it would be very difficult for me to be like in close contact. Like I don't, but really what I was going to say was, you know, when you were talking about salts, and I was just reminded of this, might seem stupid, but I have a hard time summing up the dojo, and I'm tempted to, you know, just have to not be very literal or direct about it, because that's just not where it's at to explain it. You know, it's kind of more of a apophatic kind of a thing. But you know, there's this old salt factory and on the banks of the river Blackwater in England, you know, in Essex. It's an old like Victorian based kind of a salt factory, but they have this interesting process, you know, just reminding me of the dojo. It's like they take these salty marshes and then they take water from the saltiest part of the table and they put like salty water on top of salty water. And then they filter it through the sand, which to me is kind of like the dojo. Like you enter through this filter of witness and everything's different, right? And it kind of like what James was saying, like I don't want to hear about this, or you know, you're stripping those things away, and then they heat the brine, and it's so salty it creates these pyramid shaped salt crystals on the surface, you know, and then they sink to the bottom and they scoop it out. It's just a pretty unique, like interesting salt process. But it just reminded me of that, you know, like, and then you're in the dojo and these pyramid salt crystals, like this crust is like forming and then like sinking, and just thought it was kind of an interesting it just came to mind. And I was thinking about the quaternary salts that you could you know, quaternary salts, like they call them quats, or for short, that could be like your nickname, because it kind of indicates a crystal that's in a constant state of charge, you know, kind of like, you know, it's like always charged, like the beaker whale or something. Anyway, that was just that's my input there. Anyway, if that's the best I could come up with to like try to describe something that seems like the dojo, because, you know, how are you going to, they don't even really know. It's like a weird magical kind of a thing that happens at the surface there that, you know, it'd be hard to scientifically fully describe all the processes that happen there. So there's a little magic and mystery there. So anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say. It was good to hear from everyone. Congratulations on your progress, James. You know, it sounds rather interesting. So thanks, everyone.
Oh my gosh, thanks, Pi. Yeah, I know you're sometimes I'll go be on Patreon and I'll see some really old dojos. I'm like, wow, 85. Like, oh, there's Pi. There's Pi. He's there. Hi, Andy. Good to see you. Go right ahead.
Hello. And yes, the salt is it what I just remember you saying that when the spirits are leaving, that if there's a lot of salt, they have trouble moving on. Was that so? I was thinking,
Yeah.
what about the salton sea? Are there a bunch of spirits just hovering around in the
Yeah.
above?
It could be that's
And
why they call
also
it
when
Sheol. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but yeah, I'm so
no,
excited about what you're saying.
yeah, and like when you swim, I've always been a swimmer. Well, not always, because I remember being afraid of the bathtub. And I remember measuring how high the water was. Like, I'm just like, as a little tiny kid, I'm going, well, how far is it from the bottom and how high until it overflow, because if it overflows, then all hell breaks loose. But anyway, once I got into the water, then especially the ocean, I realized salt water helps you float better. So if it's salty, in fact, that's all I knew pretty much because I was an ocean swimmer, not a freshwater swimmer. When I did get into fresh water, it was like, wow, I'm gonna sink. But I learned how to float pretty well, and just I was really into body surfing and using my hand as a flat surface to push down the water, flat or a frisbee, and that's all. You just need yourself and the wave, and that's it. No board, nothing really. But anyway, so if the spirits are floating above this salty, if it's the ocean, it's going to move around a lot, right? Well, I don't know. Spirits are going to move on their own, or are they going to stagnate? And what if it's like murky waters? Are there a bunch of spirits and phantoms and lights and weird things floating above?
There's a thermocline and in this little tiny pocket, your sound can travel like 1,000 miles. And if you think about that as like you've entered into a consciousness there, so that your thought is transmitted 1,000 miles away instantly because of the salt. Look at it all as a network. Any kind of if you have a magnet that repels itself, I want you to think about this as a network where the information from this magnet is downloading into the information of this magnet and it repels. It's showing you the movement of the flow of information. So one that repels is downloading, one that attracts is uploading. But it's information. Information in a non-physical space. Because the magnetic wave is really just the lighting on the stage as it's being changed, but it's being changed by the actor walking. So if you have a spotlight on the stage and the actor is stage left and he walks to stage right, the magnetic field is simply telling you exactly where the person is on the stage without having to tell you where the person is on the stage. All you do is look at your shadow. You look at your shadow and you go, "Holy fuck, I'm center stage left front." And you know that because you're looking at the declination of your shadow. But you could only understand your declination if you understood where your shadow is supposed to be when you are center stage. In other words, you create bearings in your life. You tell yourself, "Who am I? This is my bearing." And that's fine. It's a great bearing. But some of us don't even have a bearing of who we are. Our bearing is, who do other people want me to be? I'm an accountant. Nothing wrong with being an accountant. But before you had enough salt to be an individual, you probably had enough salt to be an accountant. You probably had enough field state to where you could pull off phasing into the role of not as James True, but as advertising executive or creative director or art director or whatever my other fields were. I could phase into an existence that didn't have a its own personalized network yet. It was more of a phase of other networks that exist. So all the jobs that exist are just networks of being. Do you see what I mean? A baker is a network of being. And the network of being is going to have a lot more flour on their hands. It's going to have more salt. Different people are going to work in different ways. Different networks are going to require physical labor. Different networks are going to require mental labor. So these are just fields of being. So every job, every place you go is a job. Every place that you stand is a job, and every job is a network. Every job is a network, which is just the moving of something from one thing to another, which really just comes down to ownership. It's just a bunch of, I hate to say this word, but it's a bunch of NFTs. It's a bunch of transferable ownership, but of energy. And most of it is us saying, I don't want to own this. Most of it's that. Why? Because it's a new economy. We're building a new economy of feelings that have never existed before, feelings that are foreign to us, feelings that bother us. The economy is going to look like, I don't own that feeling. I don't own that feeling. I don't own that feeling. Few superstars are going to own certain feelings and they're going to win, but they're going to be the ones that are like completely embodied by the feeling of right now. What is the most popular is fraud, lies, people that want more than they should. If you look at what the flavor is of the world, that's who's winning, quote, quote. Governor Christ from Florida. I cannot count how many times I've seen that guy's name pop up because of some other fraudster who was his best friend. This is the governor of fucking Florida. This is not an odd thing. I'm telling you this now, and you guys are like, yeah, so what? It's like, I know, you're right, it is so what, but it's actually not so what because it's so normalized. The normalizing is here's a person that has a fantasy that he can just take whatever he wants and take advantage of whoever he wants, and the rest of society goes along with it. Everyone else is like, let's vote for this guy. Everyone else is like, we have to trust the system. Everyone else is like, but the Zika virus, we have to kill trillions of honeybees. Like we did all that because this fucker, this piece of shit, wanted more, and all of us were so entranced by him. All of us were so agreeing with him that we wanted the system that would give it to them. That's just where we are now. It's changing as feelings become more valuable, as feelings slip into a state of who has to be responsible, who has to take the blame for this feeling. It comes into more who owns the feeling that's the most inspiring, who owns the feeling that's the most cool. And you're just watching that happen. You're watching the slow transaction of something that used to be hated turning into something that we like, and this commoditized. Intellectual property is probably, in my opinion, the biggest invention that is we've ever seen when it comes to consciousness. You understand? The idea of an intellectual property is a huge I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's a huge invention. It was the beginning of I have a non-tangible orientation that I'd like to sell on the market. It's a quaternion identity. It's a spin. And we have the no spin zone. We have no don't spin the politics. We have all of these nomenclatures that are showing us that we know how this works. We just don't want to admit it. We're just in that state where we're just like, it's okay. No, don't ask how the sausage is made. It's just like that, you know. And frankly, we're doing it perfectly. This is exactly what it would look like. First time a Neanderthal picks up a stick. First time he thinks, hey, I can bash that guy over the head with this bone. I can fucking hit him in the head with his bone, steal his meat. Like that's an invention. That something was invented then. And they're so powerful. We build governments off these inventions. We build society off these fucked up inventions. But they're intrinsically good. They're intrinsically upwardly mobile. They're intrinsically moving us in places. So I think that's why we're so stunned, because we're constantly in shock by how evil something is. And also we're constantly in shock by how necessary it is. I think that's why you're seeing a culture where we're worshiping the evilest among us, because quite frankly, that's what the vector would mean if we truly knew this is horrendous and it's necessary. That this is how we learn ego. This is how we learn self-worth. We watch others take advantage. We watch others take more than we could possibly imagine wanting to take, and it trains us to simply have a deeper entitlement, a deeper appetite, a deeper sense of entitlement to the world, to survival. And ultimately, that's really how we live. I think that's how we make it. We make it by being egotistical. We make it by being selfish. We make it by insisting that our life is more important than everyone else. It's part of the contract that makes us successful, which is why it's so hard to inherently hate it. We realize that we can only hate it in a facade kind of a way. So we have these ideas about what we hate about ourselves when really it's what we truly love. So, you know, you're just watching a relationship of denial. It's looking at ourselves in the mirror, insisting that either we don't look that way or we do look that way, but it's not what we think. So that's all I got.
All right, thanks, James. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. Go right ahead.
Yes. Hi. We'll see how my streaming is. I'm having technical difficulties on every device. The Wi-Fi is weak and the cellular is just as bad. So going back to when you're talking about the voice and throat chakra, and I was having this like dialogue in my mind while they were talking. Interesting realization that I've never had about this particular issue I'm having, which is being extremely vocal on my own. I have a very like low tolerance for any frustration. Tech is high up there on the list, to the point that one day last week, it was a really bad tech day. Things weren't loading on a listing and on every device, on every app, online, and it wasn't working. And then it's like, I'm going to call T-Mobile and like, what's going on? Is there a problem with the cellular? Why am I having such problems uploading? And they said there's possibly a issue with the tower. My speed is like between 5 and 7 on a range of up to 1,000 on the dial. Um, and while I was on the phone before getting a real person, I had the automated system, which is like just totally retarded. And I started like freaking out at it and cursing and screaming like I can do. And in the middle, somebody knocks on my door. So I live above the Jewish chapel. There's a little office, which I was told recently that they don't use anymore because they finally gave me a thermostat up here that I can control the temperature, which was another frustration for the years I've lived here. Um, and so evidently were people down there, and she's like, can you lower your voice? I'm like, I'm on the phone. It's like, yeah, I can hear that. She's like, we have some people down here, they're mourning. They're feeling very sad. It's a hard time for them. And they're hearing me like yelling and cursing. So it was kind of embarrassing. Although I was also thinking, where were my neighbors or anyone when I was up every half an hour during the night, the first 2 weeks of what ended up being Lyme, screaming in agony, or other physical ailments when I'm also like can be very expressive and loud. Where was anybody then? They weren't. But going back to the voice, so when I was a young girl, I could not speak up in class. It would cause me great anxiety. I would throw up even in school. I would stutter and sweat profusely. I couldn't speak up. And I'm thinking like most of my punishments as a child were for my mouth, for speaking something. This went on until like through college. I would have anxiety during like art critiques when you don't have like a final paper, you have a final critique on what you're working on. I would just like pretty much leave my body. It would be that much anxiety. I started to find my voice when I started to go back into my Judaism, and I was in New York studying in a school for that, for people, women reconnecting with that. And I started to find that what I was thinking and the way I was able to connect dots with what was being taught, I really wanted to share my thoughts on this. So I started that way to overcome and speak up, and also in the situation of at tables during meals, the holiday or Sabbath meals, the same thing. I would just want to share what my thoughts were, as I can go deeper than most people are like just repeating what they're reading in a book, basically, and what's been thought of by others in the tradition. But I had new ideas. So I started to speak up and really successfully overcame that. So I don't stutter anymore. I can still feel like even on here, I can feel like a little tension in my throat chakra. But so what this was coming out, what I was making the connection while thinking of like, oh, what am I going to say here about this? It's like, oh, maybe there's a connection between my voice being shut down when I was a kid and now going to the extreme of whenever I'm frustrated, screaming and like really letting my voice out. So, and I felt like when I had that thought, I could feel like emotional resonance with that. So there's some truth to that connection. I'm grateful for this platform that I made that realization because I've been like, what is the root of this? I feel like I'm two when I'm having these temper tantrums. It's crazy. I do it alone. I don't usually I don't let out my frustration on others. It's all myself. This is an interesting point of vantage point to sit with this when I'm in those moments now.
Do you find yourself ashamed of your own behavior when you catch yourself in that state?
Oh yeah, I torture myself
Okay.
about it. Like, yeah, I feel like so I want to throw things and it's pretty
Yeah.
intense. It's a lot of physical. I need to
Yeah.
like move
So
around. And
I'm doing that thing again where I'm not just going to witness, I'm going to try and help. Sorry. This is a weaker form of it. But
I understand that.
okay. But I do want to tell you that I think this is the one of the things I was trying to say in principles of addiction is exactly this, that I think ultimately that tantrum is exactly what you need, but it needs to be witnessed by someone who loves you completely. And that once, and this can be you, that this is what's so great is that you can actually witness yourself in that tantrum and really show up for yourself there because ultimately that's why you're throwing it is you're saying I have something valid. This is the only language I had because I was five, right? Or, you know, whatever. But it's like, this is the language I had. I'm speaking in that language now because there's this matrix that still wants to be heard, that still wants to be witnessed. And you can do that. I slip into, I don't even call it slipping. I catch myself all the time. And caught myself, I've caught myself finding myself adorable because of how childish I'm being. If you can find that in yourself, you're going to change your relationship to yourself because you're going to be like, okay, that I'm glad no one else saw that. And that was adorable. What did you just look at what you're doing? So that fucking trash man? I have garbage guys that don't pick up my garbage sometimes. It fucking drives me nuts. And the tantrums I throw are for me. They're they're the exact kind of injustice. I have a system that's forcing me to pay it. It says you may not have anyone else take your trash but us, and we're not going to do it. This is classic me growing up in my home. Just classic. It had all the things that allowed me to go back to 10 years old and respond as a 10-year-old. And if I could catch myself and go, look at how mad you are, little guy, not as in, look at how mad you are, as in, look at how mad you are. Yeah, look at you. Yeah. Yeah, you're fucking pissed. Yeah. And that's where we reach each other. I think the addiction works the same way. It's like, you really want to do this? Let's fucking do it right. That's really all your body's asking for. Is I want to have that right. I just want to do it right once. Let me do it right once, and you'll notice it's not an addiction anymore. You know why? Because it's fucking resolved. Because it was fucking resolved. Behaved like a 10-year-old through a tantrum. I did all this stuff, and I was there for myself the whole time. Spotless. It was a spotless 10-year-old yesterday, as you tell yourself in the mirror, and you're like, thank you, I know. Yeah, seriously, I fucking nailed that. Like, you could not have nailed that more. It's that kind of approach. It's that kind of approach where you're just like, look at how this is happening. I find I do that because I live alone. I find I do that to a lot of other media or a lot of other things that I say. I really enjoy lately. I've been watching if I'm cooking or cleaning or doing something, not a lot for that, but I watch like reality show where someone's just like being real, right? And they're acting weird. And I tend to take how someone's acting and just use that as a flux, is the ability to have sympathy for them is actually giving myself sympathy for me because I'm watching someone freak out, having a road rage, and I'm not saying, look at that fucking pathetic. What is that, an adult? Oh my God, they probably have kids. What a piece of shit. And instead of being like, look at the vulnerability here. What is she like? In her 50s, she's probably got a pretty decent job. She's probably got 3 kids. Look at that. Look at how she's behaving. This is this is vulnerable. This is like beautiful. This is like intimate stuff that you get to see, that they're showing it to you, and you get to choose how you're going to eat it, right? You get to choose how you're going to eat that energy. And you can do that with yourself because everything is just yourself anyway. It's nothing wrong with being egocentric. I swear to fuck it's not. You'll be more generous when you are. You'll start to notice why these things are triggering you. They're triggering you because that's the answer. That's why they're triggering you. So I think all of this comes down to that self-talk, that engagement that you have with yourself, how much fun you get to have watching what age you are when you're there, when you phase in, what it took, right? What it took to slip out, all that stuff should be things that you would notice about your lover and find adorable. It's like, oh, look, she's complaining. Look at this person I love complaining to the manager. Oh my God, she's really freaking out. And you're watching the whole thing, but it's not, it does different feelings. You have different feelings about it, right? Why were you more generous with this person that you love? Why not be that generous with yourself, right? And these are the only opportunities we have. This will literally be the only opportunities we have is would be during those states. Thanks for the share, Sarah. I don't think this is exactly related to what you're saying, but it's just more related to just the whole posture stuff.
And and that's right on in terms of like wanting witness and comfort. Like I find like in those moments I just want to like have someone around to like just hold me and cuddle. So I think yesterday, the day before when this happened, I just like did this to myself, just hugged myself and comforted myself.
I did that to myself
And
today
sometimes
too.
I have like a
Sorry, go ahead.
And sometimes I'll have this like overview, like especially like once the first time this happened, I was like walking at the park and I do some like mushroom microdosing because they grew abundantly here. It was amazing. I have all these like these jars of like so magic mushrooms that grew out here on the wood chips. So I microdose for a little like more than microdose, and I was at the park one day and I started having these like visions, and this happens more of like watching myself in these moments. And it's like it can be either pathetic or like, what am I doing? It's so like it's ridiculous, but and then I will like if I see other people like doing things sometimes like, oh wait, I do that too sometimes. So instead of like coming on this like oh, being so ridiculous and this judgment, like, oh wait, I have moments like that too.
Guess part of deserving is like deserving your own witness. Because ever since we started talking about talking out loud, I feel like it's some version of like the demon schizophrenia thing, where now I'm all aware of it, of all the times I'm talking out loud, and I'd rather not be embarrassed about it. So now I'm like, before I'm like, I'm like cussing, and now I'm like, nice pie, that was really nice. And it's this more sedate conversation where I can get that bit. But the only thing is, it's a little weird because it seems more like another person. I'm like, gosh, is that like a little schizo demon? I mean, you feel it a little bit more. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw
That's
that.
the pharmacopoeia. If you think about it, this idea of the Greek pharmacopoeia is, we're going to pretend that there's a scapegoat that attaches all of our stuff to, and then we're going to throw the scapegoat out of town. And that this is what you do as a child. I caught myself the other day. I was mocking someone on TV, and I just entered into like a 7-year-old state who just all of a sudden hears the words, knick knack patty whack, and then they're just like knick knack patty whack, and I'm just like going into this weird auditorial fidgety witch doctor kind of a thing in my house, but I've been doing that enough. I know you guys have, but it's like I've long gotten over being weird about catching that stuff. I more just watch myself play and go, wow, that's wow. And I'm like, I know, right? I know what's next. What's next? And just I'm all into the next thing. That's an exorcism. It doesn't I don't need to tangibly understand, right? It's a plaything. It's the ability to play. It's no different than if you were trying to play Legos. You were trying, but you just fucking couldn't pull it off. But what do you know? This fucking tennis ball came in, and now you're mesmerized. It's that play state, and this is where all the demons are. Pi. This is where all of our I think we use our personalities to pharmacopeize our reef, right? You if you ran through a reef of someone, saying calling all fucking crazies, and you ran through the reef, then you left that voice would pull all of that energy out. And so the voice is very much methodical. It's very therapeutic. You just don't necessarily know what's happening because the energy is so hard to see. I think we're learning to see this. This is why we can say, "Oh, I was in a bad mood earlier." This is like deeply fucking insightful. Wait a minute. So you're you, but you were you earlier, but earlier it was still you, but you were in a badder mood. This took like fucking bazillion years to invent this idea. I'm not even saying it's right. I'm just saying it's such a complex concept because it's coming back. I hate to use this word again, but it's coming back to the quaternion, the idea that all shapes are intrinsically, the identity itself is based on their rotational vector, their angst, their spin, their oomphness, and that it would take you eons if you were a particle to even figure out that you were spinning, and that during those spins you became a completely different identity, i.e., mood, i.e., you ready for this? Fucking gender, genre, gender, genre, same thing. Genres of music are still music. Genders of people are still people, right? You're looking at spin, you're looking at orientation, you're looking at identity. It's all the same thing. This is, I think, how we find ourselves because we start to notice which identity we want to call. I didn't say which identity we found that is our original. I don't think you're ever going to find that. Saying you get to pick the identity and say, this is my fucking spin. I'm this, right? And then you build your complex from that. It's a complex. It's nothing primal. It's a complex. You build a complex off an identity. I pick this identity. I'm this guy, right? And all the other things are me trying to get back to that state. This is just spin. It's just a communication of spin. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, James. You got a lot of hands up. When you mentioned hugging yourself, Sarah, I'm like, yes, that was just like, sometimes it's, if you're the only one there, just, it works. And it's really sweet. You're just like, man, just pat yourself on the back. Another thing I like to do is videotape myself. I do have a channel. I do post things, but sometimes I'll just videotape me talking, just completely off the cuff, and then watch it later to see what I said. Often I'm not sure, but it comes out pretty authentically. I was doing some dishes and I broke one. And right when I was breaking it, I was thinking of one thing in particular. So I'm like, I'm going to document this. So I just kind of brought up what I was thinking when I broke the bowl and I just have it recorded so I can look at it and witness it later on if I feel like it. Like, what was that moment? So it's great we have the tools to record ourselves. All right, Bagheera, good to see you. Go right ahead.
It's good to see you all. Can you hear me? Okay, excellent. I have, let's see, we got like what, 15 minutes left? Yeah. Okay. I got kind of a big share, but I wanted to speak to some of the topics that were being discussed today because wow, what a great discussion. Really rich topics. So I wanted to touch on just what James was just saying about these types of spin, these directions of spin, and how I think that there's a correlate there to beliefs and ideas and resonance, that these kind of are all different ways of looking at the same thing, which is that when we make decisions about how we're going to posture ourselves. We it's like we're toning, we're choosing a resonance, and as we do that, like that is what informs how our experience is rendered. um and I love that there's this ongoing feedback loop where it's like there's the purview of the individual, and there's like a constant broadcast from the individual about how they're posturing themselves, and then there's this constant feedback from the environment as far as how it's going to posture itself. uh, and I this lends to what I really wanted to share, which is that I've been thinking recently about how important it is to be precise with our language. This is something that has been a focus for me for a long time, but more recently, one of my teachers has been talking a lot about being in a state of questioning our claims and our interpretations of things, not like trying to answer them, not trying to like come up with an answer uh, to our like whether the thing is true or not, but just to be in the state of questioning. Like, is this true? The way that I'm framing this right now, the way that I'm describing my experience and what this world is that really true? And not like we tend to a lot of the time habitually, reactively answer that kind of question, like immediately with whatever we can come up with. And there's something really potent in not doing that and just holding this state of questioning, because then it's like when we're making a claim, it's like we're collapsing infinite potential into this sort of certainty, this sort of like quasi solidity. And that's how we render our experiences, by collapsing infinite potential into whatever it is we're experiencing. And when we take that frame, whatever kind of language we're using to describe our experience, to frame it, we're taking what we've solidified into this, like this sort of like visceral kind of certainty in our experience about like what it is and how we're interpreting it. And we're bringing that back into its true state of infinite potential, where it's like because nothing is what we say it is. Nothing like inherently means what we say it means. And it's just been really helpful to me as I've been like navigating my life and like focusing on my aspirations and stuff, to uh, pay attention to the way that I'm framing my experience, like in relation to my goals and such, limiting beliefs and that sort of thing. When these sorts of narratives come up, it's like, oh, that's I'm I'm doing that. Having that belief, and that's informing my experience in this kind of rigid way. And if I start to question that, then it opens up, and there's more possibilities that I can imaginate as I'm speculating about like how I might go about things and how that might unfold for me. So that I mentioned that because like a month or two ago, James was talking about how there's it's sort of an epidemic, really, of people feeling like they have to make a claim and that it has to be like objectively true about like any given thing. And that we can actually pull a lot more torque from saying, I don't know if this is objectively true, but this is what I believe. That's really potent. It's an awareness and a demonstration that our power to create, to render this realm and our experience comes from our decision that like this is how I'm going to perceive and respond to this. This is how I'm going to posture myself, and this is what I intend to experience. And I've been finding that my mind is a lot more receptive to that. There's not nearly as much, if any, resistance to making claims like, this is what I want, this is what I intend, this is how I'm going to experience this, rather than saying like, this is this way in some kind of objective sense. So yeah, I I really think that there's something to that, James, that uh, taking the position that like I'm living my life, I'm rendering my experience through my choices in what I think and feel and believe and intend, uh, rather than thinking that I need to find some kind of objective truth to stand on. I can stand on the solid ground of like I'm rendering my experience, and this is what I believe. So this is what I'm going to experience. It feels like a much more empowered uh, position to be in, but also with this kind of lightness about it, like holding these beliefs and perceptions lightly, where it's like I might be wrong about this,
Mm-hmm.
but this is how I'm seeing this, and this is how I feel about this right now. So that's what's real for me in
It's
this moment.
really, really well done. And I please keep going, but I just want to stop here and just use the word
Sure.
fascism for a minute because I think when we're a
Yeah. Yeah.
kid, when we're a kid, we tap into fascism as a creative act, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's we objectively declare our vision as the reality, right? It's like we are playing war, and we are the Kukugios, and you are the Hottentots, and we're gonna fucking kick your ass. And this is how you get excited. Other people are like, yeah, we're fucking playing war. Are you kidding? The fascism is what brings you to the table. So, growing up in a younger state, you utilize fascism as a way of gaining ground through technology of belief. It's all technology of belief. Your fascism
Right.
is invigorating that belief. And what you notice as you grow older is that the fascism doesn't pull as much torque when you're in front of a bunch of
Yeah.
fucking fascists, right? So, I
Yes.
had to suddenly notice I want to keep saying that I believe. And after I practiced saying I believe this and I believe this, which means I was never disagreeing with anyone, I started to notice, wait, I have the
Right.
upper hand here. I'm the only one who doesn't
Yeah.
fucking know. I'm the only one in the room who doesn't know. And why am I the only one that has the right answer? Well, I'm literally like just what feels like the right answer because everyone else is just having such a terrible spin, right? The
Yeah.
fascism is a spin. It requires you to spin so fast that you feel there's no other choice. This has to be right. This has to be the only one. And this is not a
It's
flaw.
so
This is a
expensive.
creative
Yeah.
act. This is a creative act. And this is, I think, what we need to do. We need to let go of the creative act, but do not let go of the creative act. We need to understand that this is what we use, and we use this to grip. It's something we want in our toolkit. It just doesn't need to be the entirety of it all. We don't need to believe our own spin. We need to
Right.
incorporate our own spin. It's that kind of thing. Please go ahead. I just had to throw this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Fascism is such a beautiful creative tool when you hear it in this way as you're describing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like it it's it's fascism when you're uh believing that you need to pull torque from other people. Uh it doesn't feel fascist if you're pulling all of your own torque. Um because of your conviction about the belief. But I think that there's this cool balance that you can strike between like conviction about your belief and openness to getting uh, optimization data later on that might, change that belief. Um, the other thing that I wanted to speak to is just briefly talking about salt. There was some talk earlier about ghosts dwelling in the ocean because of the salt. And I'm thinking, I mean, the way that I'm visualizing that is like that this because in my view, like all of creation, the experiential realm is fundamentally sound. It's expressing pleomorphically as all these different forms and sensations and phenomena. Uh, and so I'm thinking that this salt, you've talked about how the salt like holds this resonance. It's sort of like it gets encoded with information that's held in this resonance. And so this it's like this salt is like this cacophony of information, and that's what's projecting these spirits. And I was thinking about I was explaining to my friend who wasn't familiar with the term songlines or the concept of songlines. And as I was explaining it to them, I started to wonder, like, wait a second, like what if part of the big significance and like mechanics of songlines and why they allow people to commune with and even like communicate with their ancestors is because the salt from the people that falls on the songlines is there in the soil. And so it's like as you know, as people's salt like mixes with like and they flow prana into the soil where their ancestors salt is, like their body, like the the body is communicating with these data banks where like the essence of these people is actually like being held in the soil. It's just kind of wild to me. Like I feel like I'm starting to taste the gravity of uh this, like how rich this world is with information that's actually in many ways stored in these material forms like salt.
Really quick, if you guys want to clear your brain of all definitions you've ever heard about hell and retune yourself to relearn the term Hades, AIDS, you will discover that this is a mythology that is not based on evil or an underground burning purgatory. It is the place where all things are seen. Hades is the place where all things are seen. Sheol is not the land of the dead, it is the land of the people that you do not see, but are still there. So Sheol and Hades are the same. Sheol is thought to be the ocean waters, and this is why it's so easy to me to imagine how this would just be the salt, would be the information. So Hades is a clarity of reality that none of us can truly behold completely because of how painful it is to see it in its totality. Either the salt burns too much to process, or the light is too bright, or the information is too loud for our delicate sensibilities. And I want them to be delicate. They're delicate because you only have an 80-year lifespan. You're going to want an important vector there. So you're going to have a softer drum. But that ultimately, when you hear hell or Hades or Sheol, there's so many calories waiting for you if you think about that place as simply all that has ever been known, all that ever will be known, is simply the earth expressing its salt, all the dead people inside of it, all of the lives that they lived. It's in there in the salt. It's all there. It could be compressed, but it's there. And using compassion, you could rebuild the salt and you could build every single person's life back from the start. This is what science does. We're doing it right now. And go back and find, here's a dude that grew up in Gettysburg. He got a rifle. He did this. He shot this. He got hit in the head. He had this terrible toothache. And then he died right here. And we know that because we're compassionating the soil more, right? Archaeologically, we're just simply compassionating more what happened, which means the omniscience is already here. We're building the omniscience right now, but we're not building it. Excuse me. We're remembering it. We're just moving the unseen parts and it becomes more clear. So technically, nothing's moving. Technically, you're moving. Technically, you're the one that's in spin. Technically, you're the one that's processing these different beliefs because you're an Osiris molecule. You're an Osiris cell connected in this omnipresent, omniscient way where you psychically feel separate but the same. And that is broadcasted in every render that you have. You're always seeing what everyone else sees, but still you have an internal life. Like this would be the only definition that would fit for how we would have this compartmentalized cellular hallucination of something larger, and that thing larger is so large it's undead. It's so large it's Hades. It's so large that we cannot even smell it completely. It's too much. It's too much information. Your face would melt off. And this is what we talk about the seraphim, the sacred cherub or the seraphim. The seraphim, I think, are the ones that can't show their face, and the cherubs are the ones that can't show their other parts. I probably got this screwed up, but if you just relook at this thing and you recognize the angel is like this eyeball guy, this is just the ability to see Hades, to see the truth, would be an angel to be closest to God because you're closest to beholding omniscience. And that omniscience is so radiatory, it melts your face off, which is why you and I don't see it. We don't see it because we're not worthy. We don't see it because that would fuck it up. That would fuck up so much of the delicate fractal that we have now. So everything's fits, everything's perfect. The unseen is exactly the folds of the rose that make it so beautiful. You know, it's good news.
Yeah, this is great. We're winding down. We got a couple hands up. Hi, Lauren, go right ahead.
Hi, I'll try to make this quick. It's nice to see you all. Um, Definitely sending you some love, Amel, for the loss of your dog. My daughter, I think it was before Mother's Day, her 15-year-old miniature Chihuahua ended up passing, and that was like her child. Um, Audrey's about to turn 27 on May 25th, too. She's not a baby anymore. Yeah. Um, So yeah, that can be quite a loss. I understand that. So definitely sending love. And thank you, James, for sharing the first 25 pages of your book. It's been I've enjoyed it. And the neatest thing I think was imagining you working with the AI, and trying to kind of feel vicariously how that process would be. So definitely enjoying that. What else? Oh, one of the things that sat with me too from I think the show before this last one was just pulling moist bones out of Africa, out of the rift. That's incredible because that made me think, moist mind. And then it made me think about the crystals that are within bones themselves. I think it's hydroxyapatite and how, crystals, light combined with water, memory, us creating our own world. Using magnetism, using the mind. That's all part of us. We're just slowly starting to know ourselves. So it'll be interesting when a good amount of humanity gets to learn these things that are already part of themselves, yet seem like it's outside of ourselves. It's not. But that's the fun in discovering all this. And yeah, working on my throat chakra too. I do this little thing that I keep to myself where I read books aloud and I record it and I keep it on my voice memo section of my phone because I can listen to myself later when I'm doing mundane things, reading books that I need to know. So it's my little secret way of studying. And also, Lori, it's awesome that you're going on a road trip. So am I. I'm leaving on Tuesday, and it's just going to be to outside of Philadelphia, but that's going to be fun. I love taking myself on road trips, even if it's just driving to Chicago, 5 hours away. It's fun. Music, my own thoughts, new scenery. So that's it. Sending you guys lots of love, and have a good day, everybody.
Oh my gosh, so fun. Yeah, I was noticing how quest is in the word question. So sometimes a quest isn't as easy as this or that. It's like it's a quest. We're on a quest. So that was fun to find. Hi, MJ, go right ahead. We'll end with you.
So I was gonna say that about the throat chakra stuff, same here. I have to work on it constantly. And when I come here, I automatically feel more vulnerable, and I don't know why, because I mean I love it. I think that's great. I think it's just the atmosphere. I think that would be the dojo, right? It's just you have to come on the mat sometimes, right? And I don't know, my mind is blown at how much when I come here, I'm just like so my what's the word? I don't know, my vibe just changes to where it's like I'm gonna be in this vibe of what we're doing, whatever it is. But anyway, I also I've been watching lots of the videos and stuff like that, and sometimes James talks about 215, and I can't remember why he talks about 215, but that's my birthday, so it caught my attention. And I don't know if you guys ever thought about this, but 215 is ISIS. Like 215s is ISIS. And if we're Assyrian beings, then we're looking at our reflection, Isis, right? Osiris and Isis looking at each other and what this shimmer is because of our reality. And so also on 215, it's Lupercalia. And at first I was like, what the hell is that? What is this? What is this festival about? And so it's about the wolf. And the wolf is a keystone species like I don't know if anybody's seen that video when wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone. They like top down changed the ecosystem to a healthier thing and changed the course of the river and all of this stuff. I'll put the video in our chat so you can see. But anyway, I just think that is a beautiful thing. And the keystone species and the wolf and the 215. I don't know. I just wanted to share that.
Thanks for sharing. It's so fun to put stuff together. That is especially for you. I mean, why shouldn't you be the topic of what your research is and how specialized you are, what your signature is? I think we're all just here trying to find our signature or remember it rather. Or how many do we have actually? How
That's
many,
beautiful.
Yeah,
ISIS
thanks so much.
is if you think about like the Whore of Babylon, I know we like to think of that as like a negative thing, but if all of us were separated, the Osiris idea, all of us were separated, that each of us is a cell inside of a body of Osiris, forgot that we're a cell, so we'd be decoupled. Then we'd be living here in this place. All of us would think that we're separate, even though we're technically sort of the same thing. And that there would be the spirit of Isis would be here to put us back together. And the Whore of Babylon is literally technology, civilization, causing a bunch of singular people living in the woods to say, hey, let's shit in the same hole. And everyone's like, yeah, we're going to do that. And then through shitting in the same hole, you end up building a civilization, which means Isis herself is here to bring all of us back into an awareness of the Osiris model, that we're all connected in a greater thing. So the Whore of Babylon and Isis is not just a really interesting archetype. It's literally, if you look at what's happening, it's literally the exact energy of what's pulling all this stuff back together. Even during Corona, watching all these people that honestly I relate to say, we have to go out in the woods and build more technology and build more civilization. That's when I noticed, holy fuck, we are so building the machine as hard as we can, and we're doing it under the voice of we will not build the machine. And it at first it might be scary, but it finally washed over me, and I realized how beautiful that was. Just how beautiful that was, that we were still able to have the goal, even though we were negative on it, insisting that this is what we don't want, yet constantly practicing and reaching for it more. So I am all about the Isis. I am all about the Whore of Babylon. It just makes so much sense from an oracle mythology standpoint that this is why prostitution is considered the oldest occupation. The Whore of Babylon is what brought people into commerce. It brought people together. So it's such a crucial element to have, which is why I'm always freaking out when I see it. I personally, my favorite is ISS. It's the highest technological thing that we've placed in the sky that all of us can look up to. And I've always noticed that too feels like a nod to the Whore of Babylon. It's like, look at this. And this is what's kind of pulling us all back together. So it's really cool stuff, in my opinion, watching all this work.
Yeah, great stuff. Is. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us on this fantastic dojo. You can go ahead and unmute and say goodbye. Really great to have you all here.
Hasta
luego.
Great to see everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Love you all. Take care.